Hi, Breakthrough Medicine friends. It's Dr. Sarah. Welcome to the 10th and final review of CBD oil and its relationship to its effect on the brain, on pain, and on neurological strain. Yes, we are actually at the final video, part 10 in my series of CBD oil, hype, harm, or heck yeah. So before I get started, again, I just want to reiterate that I do have a recent post on Saratoga.com, and it goes over the important factors to consider when determining if CBD oil is right for you. There I summarize the key points and have links to my previous articles and videos that contain additional resources and references. We have already covered CBD oils, precautions, some of their side effects, the regulatory issues that surround CBD, the medical uses, its mechanisms, its interactions with this wonderful endocannabinoid system, that phytocannabinoids are plant compounds that hit these cannabinoid receptors in our body effect, and the entourage effect that occurs when there's a mix of all the cannabis compounds together, not just the isolated compound alone, such as CBD or another isolate of cannabis, and how that creates a synergy in our body and perhaps produces a more harmonious and less intense effect, but can have other beneficial side benefits. One thing I want to stress is that there's three main things to keep in mind when initiating any therapeutic modality, not just CBD oil. We want to remember that the effect of any intervention will vary among different people because everybody has their unique biochemistry, everybody has been exposed to different things in the environment that affect how our genes function, and everybody has variations in how they process things in their body, how they process life, and their whole mind-body connection. So that'll all affect how an intervention interacts with our own internal tapestry and biochemical reactions. So what works for you might not necessarily work for someone else, and even though you might share similar genetics, and what works for someone else might not necessarily work for you. So just remember that, and don't get swept away by media attention and what the most popular cure-all is at the moment, because everything has side effects, even if it's all natural, just because everybody's body is different. We can even drink too much water, right? And that can mess up with our electrolytes, and water is really good for us. So just remember, there's always caveats and side effects to anything, no matter how beneficial it is deemed to be. Remember to keep in mind quality and standards, and this is imperative for your protection, right? We don't want to be taking anything that's tainted with any potential toxicants, and also to achieve the desired results. When you look at the studies that we're going to review in a minute, there's specific dosages in specific ranges, as well as what the constituents were standardized. So when you're using a product, you want to be able to see that clearly on the finished product, what's actually in the bottle, and that they verified it with preferably a third-party verification. So please pay attention to that if this is the first video you're seeing, or just if you need a review and you want to kind of cross-reference the product that you're considering or already using and showing it and comparing it with what your doctor has. Just please keep that in mind. I also want to point out that in my latest article that will accompany this video, that's based on the information found in this video and I will link to for you, there's new references for potential medication interactions with CBD oil. So I have a list from Medscape and also RX List. They provide some information on some of the mechanisms, the safety and indications as well. So you want to check those out if you're concerned about any potential interactions there. And it's mostly based on the drug that's a CBD oil, Epidiolex, that was recently approved. Okay. So just kind of to bring us back where we left off from the last video, I talked about what it's necessary to understand as we dive into this research a little bit more, that there is a difference between preclinical and human studies. So what goes on in rodents and what goes on in petri dishes are different as far as what occurs in humans a lot of the times. Now, we can make associations and correlations, and there's times where it's pretty similar, but there's times with dosages and what they do in the experiment to the little animals that's a lot different than how humans would take it, and also how we process different metabolites. So we want to keep that in mind, and also know that dosage, method of delivery, and standards do affect outcomes. I also wanted to point out to you that a lot of the studies right now on CBD, they're less robust than they are on, say, cannabis as a whole as a medication, or THC, the isolated THC, and the pharmaceutical drugs that have combinations of THC and CBD for a lot of reasons. One is CBD is just gaining height in a lot of popularity, and hemp was just legalized, so it was harder to do research on CBD alone for a long time. And then there's also less financial incentive on natural products to do research, just because of the funding isn't necessarily there as it is for pharmaceuticals. So there's less kind of things to dive into, although there is some research that we're going to go over. When I looked at the research with these combination compounds, there's different results that occur with. Some studies report that the results are better just with using THC alone for certain conditions. Some studies report that monotherapy with CBD is the best results. You get the best of both worlds without the side effects. Others show that they work better together, that they interact with each other, cancel each other out, and that the effects can just go from anywhere in between. So this is important to remember, and why I'm pointing out again all the different individual variations and differences between trials to keep in mind, dosages, because when we understand all these things impact an individual, it's also going to impact study results of the general population and what they find. Of course, these things are all going to be weeded out, excuse the expression, with really good clinical trials. And also, when they do these meta-analysis of reviews, what they do is they combine all the studies and look for how well the studies were done and what you can actually determine from these studies, and if they were biased. And so meta-analysis are very helpful to getting to the bottom of what overall the literature says. And that's what I focused on when I did my review. Is I looked at individual studies, but it's very easy in the blogosphere for people that take one or two studies and then make that all about this is the answer, right? Rather than basing it on clinical experience and research reviews with tried and tested modalities over a long period of time. Okay? So with that in mind, let me kind of share with you what I found as far as CBD and pain. So there's been a lot of trials that investigate cannabis compounds for pain. And the evidence, again, is mixed for a lot of the reasons I just said. There's also been a lot of variations in populations, and when you're studying pain, there's all different types of pain. There's cancer pain, neurological pain, neuropathic pain, different pain, migraines, all different types of pain. There was a small review of 18 trials, and the authors were trying to determine the efficacy of synthetic and natural cannabis preparations for relieving pain in patients with cancer. Most of the trials were good. They were double-blinded, and they compared cannabis to a placebo. And overall, they supported that cannabinoids were pain-relieving. And compared to placebo, they were generally well-tolerated and overall safe. And that some of the best targeted dose for relieving pain in cancer was based on a prescriptive medication that had ratios of THC and CBD together. Now, there was a larger review of 43 randomized clinical human trials. 24 of those 43 were actually good trials that were eligible for the meta-analysis. So these were good studies, and they validated that there's probably beneficial effect for pain relief using cannabis-based medicines. So what were these cannabis-based medicines? They were the drug Sativex, which is a combination of THC, CBD, the synthetic drug derived from cannabis, Nabilone, and a synthetic THC drug, Dronabinol, and then there were cannabis cigarettes versus placebo, and outcomes of THC alone versus placebo. And they found that they mostly were primarily helpful for neuropathic pain, but there were also limitations. Some of the limitations of the studies included English-only studies, variations in designs again, poor history of what their pain was like prior to using the medications, and inadequate blinding of the subject. So remember, placebo effect is big, especially for pain. So what you're expecting might help relieve pain will impact if that product or whatever the intervention is actually does for relieving pain. There is trial summary results on the link that I provided from the article on page 24 to 25, and then adverse effects of the medication summary table on page 23 of the article. If you're interested in that, that's posted. So you will have that resource for you available if you want to dive into that and read a long list of different variations of trials and have fun with it with your organic cup of coffee if your genetic variation allows you to enjoy geeking out. Okay, so what's the bottom line on pain? The bottom line is overall it appears that cannabinoids may positively influence pain relief, and that the efficiency of pain using CBD monotherapy and for full spectrum hemp in publications and completed studies are not as robust as THC and cannabis medications that are already approved for clinical use. This is subject to change. Right now there's impressive reports of both CBD oil alone and in combination, cannabis products, and observational surveys from clinicians in the fields, and preliminary findings from trials underway that are yet to be revealed. So remember, all of these results can be contingent on the various properties of the CBD oil, the individual, and what we have already discussed as far as trial designs, okay? So, aren't you glad that I took the time to review that with you so that you would understand and not get too confused at why there's all these variations? All right, now what about CBD and mood in the brain? Well, how about if we save that for the next video? Because I have done a lot of research and spent a lot of time on CBD, and I don't want to overwhelm you with too much with the videos. So next week I'm going to probably have another quick topic, and then I'll review very quickly in the video, and then we'll go into what I found on CBD and cannabis effects on brain and the mood, because there is an article that I did reference in my article that I want to go into better details with you guys as far as the effect of cannabis, CBD, and THC in on the brain. You can get the summary from the article that I'll link from this video. Overall, you know, there's some good supportive evidence that for short-term, bottom lining it for you guys right now, for short-term anxiety, it's been found to be effective, but again, the studies just aren't fully there yet. But there's a lot of very preliminary and some publications that are showing very promising results. Okay, so I will leave you there. I will be back. And yes, we are done with the final review. It is there for you, but I want to explain more for you in the video. Okay? So stay tuned for that, and pretty soon you might, like I said, I might be taking a little break from the videos and the articles for a while because there are some projects I want to do for you guys, specifically on using essential oils, because I haven't been able to write about essential oils for like 10 weeks now because I've been doing CBD for you all, and I'm in a little withdrawal. So I want to do some more stuff with essential oils and hormones and mood and digestive health. And I also want to thank you guys for your feedback. I've been getting a lot of questions on essential oils for pain, essential oils for this condition, blah, blah, blah. How does it compare to CBD? I love your questions, but please remember I cannot make specific medical advice or diagnose, treat, or prescribe for you. I can give you general information like what you'll find in this website. I do also offer essential oil consults if that's something you're interested in, and they're very, I've kept them very reasonable and affordable for people, so that if you have safety, like how would you use essential oils for this, and what might this do, and I have all these essential oils, I'm not sure what to do with them, or I have this condition, what might help support my body as I do other things that are standard of care. I do have that available for you guys, and the information's on my website. But please, I'm not trying to be mean when you all send me emails asking me to help you with this or that. I just can't legally do that, and it wouldn't be responsible. And it's just, how can I get all the information I need from an email? You really can't, and not ethically to help you out. Okay, I'll sign off now. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.